It's the ultimate digital safety blanket, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you tell yourself, it's fine, if everything crashes, if I get hacked, I have a backup.
It's the lie we all love to believe. It's comforting. um, dangerously comforting.
It is. But today, we are ripping that blanket right off. We're diving deep into a document called Backups Are Not a Security Strategy, and, well, it's a bit of a wake-up call.
It is. Because the core idea here is that while backups feel like safety, they are absolutely not security.
And that distinction is more than just words, right?
Exactly. It's operational. Security is about keeping the bad guys out. It's prevention. Backups are strictly about what you do once they've already gotten in and, smashed the place up.
If you confuse the two.
You're in a lot of trouble.
The source material calls this the comfort illusion. I think that is just a perfect phrase for it.
It really is.
So our mission for this deep dive is to basically dismantle that assumption that being able to recover is the same thing as being protected.
Right. We want to help you move from a recovery mindset to a prevention mindset.
Because if you're just relying on recovery, you're kind of just planning to fail, aren't you?
You're admitting you expect to fail. Yeah. You're planning for the disaster, not to avoid it.
So let's unpack this comfort illusion. I think a lot of us, myself included, have fallen into this trap. I back up my site every night, so I'm bulletproof. Why is that such false confidence?
It just comes down to the timeline.
Yeah.
Think about it. By the time you actually need that backup, what's already happened?
Well, the bad thing, the hack, the crash, whatever it is.
Exactly. The breach has occurred, the damage is done. Backups address the aftermath, not the entry point.
It's like saying, I don't need to lock my front door because I have a really good insurance policy.
Yes, a policy that will buy you a new TV after the burglar leaves.
But you still have a broken door, shattered glass, and, the feeling that someone was in your house.
Precisely. And the source makes a really critical point here about the clean recovery myth.
Yeah, the idea that you just hit restore and everything is magically clean again.
Like a time machine, right. You just rewind to last Tuesday before the malware hit. But the logic is completely flawed.
Because you're rewinding the data, not the vulnerability that let them in.
Spot on. Hitting rewind doesn't fix the lock on the front door. Restoration doesn't guarantee removal of the original threat. So if you restore the system but don't patch the vulnerability, what happens 5 minutes later?
They walk right back in through the exact same door.
And that creates what the source calls the real-world failure pattern. It's a loop.
Okay, what's the loop?
Step 1, site is compromised. Step 2, you restore your backup. Step 3, the vulnerability is still there.
So they get back in.
Yeah.
And step 4 must be trust just erodes.
Completely. It's Groundhog Day for cybersecurity, but way less funny.
And way more expensive.
It is. And the document notes this cycle repeats because restoration is mistaken for resolution. You fix the symptom, not the disease.
This whole conversation raises a pretty terrifying thought about the backups themselves. There's a quote in here that just stopped me in my tracks.
I think I know the one you mean.
A backup you've never restored is a theory, not a plan.
That's it. That is honestly one of the most important lines in the whole document. It sounds cynical, but it is just so accurate.
Because you just assume it's working. The little green light is on.
Right. But you've never actually tried to pull the data back out. And most failures happen in those untested moments.
So what does a silent failure actually look like?
Oh, it can be anything. Maybe the script runs, it connects, but it backs up 0 bytes because the directory path changed. Or it's overwriting good data with empty folders.
Or credentials. I can imagine those get stale.
That is a huge one. The credentials the backup system uses were changed 3 months ago, and nobody updated the script. So for 90 days, you've been backing up access denied errors.
And you'd have no idea.
Not until you try to open the file during a crisis. And then you find out your parachute is just a backpack full of dirty laundry.
Or worse, the source mentions storing backups on the exact same vulnerable system.
Oh, come.
I know, it sounds so basic.
You would be amazed. People do it all the time because convenience is the enemy of security. It's just easier to dump the backup to another folder on the C drive.
But if an attacker gets admin access...
Guess what they're deleting first? Every time.
The backups.
Which leads us perfectly into the next big point.
Yeah.
Not all backups are created equal. You have editable backups and immutable backups.
Okay, this is a really important distinction, especially with ransomware everywhere. So editable is just standard file storage, right? If I can write to it, I can delete it.
Exactly. And if it allows changes, it allows deletion. But it also allows something much worse. Poisoning.
Poisoned backups. That sounds incredibly nasty.
It is. Imagine an attacker is in your system for weeks, which is common. They don't detonate the ransomware right away. Instead, they might slowly, quietly alter your backup files.
Injecting malicious code or corrupting the database?
Right, so when you finally hit restore, you are actually restoring the virus yourself. You're reinfecting your own system.
Because modern ransomware is smart, it goes hunting for your backups first.
It wants to make sure you can't restore. So the solution here is what the source emphasizes: immutable backups.
This is basically write once, read many, right? Worm storage.
Yes. An immutable backup is locked after creation. It has a time-bound retention. That means once that file is written, nothing can change or delete it until, say, 30 days have passed.
Not you, not the system admin.
And definitely not the hacker. It's like carving it into stone instead of writing it in pencil.
Even with the God mode password, the storage system itself just says, nope, can't delete this yet.
Exactly. Immutability is about control. It removes the backup as a target. They can burn down the house, but they can't destroy the blueprint and the fireproof safe.
Okay, that's a crucial distinction. And this is where the document makes a big pivot. Even if you have perfect immutable backups, restoring them doesn't mean you're secure.
And here's where it gets really interesting. This is the concept of the backup blind spot.
This list genuinely shocked me. I mean, I knew a backup restores files, but I hadn't really thought through what it doesn't restore.
Well, think about it conceptually. A backup restores data, bits and bytes, your Word docs, your database tables. It does not restore your security posture.
It doesn't restore the integrity of the environment.
Not at all. Let's go through the list because each one is a disaster. Number one, stolen credentials.
Right. So an attacker steals my password on Tuesday. I restore my website from Monday's backup.
Does the attacker suddenly forget your password?
Of course not. It's probably in their attack script already.
Exactly. The credentials are still valid. You brought out the data, but the key to the front door is still in the V's pocket. You haven't changed the locks.
Okay, what about compromised email? That's on the list too.
Same logic. If they're in your email to reset passwords or intercept codes, restoring your file server doesn't kick them out of your inbox. They're still just sitting there.
And this next one is really insidious. Malicious admin users.
This is a big one. An attacker creates a new administrator account for themselves, something you don't recognize. Restoring the database content might not even remove that user.
Right, especially if the user directory is separate. Or, wait, if the backup is recent, you might restore the backup with the bad guy's new account in it.
Exactly. You are literally restoring their access. They just log in as admin too and do it all over again.
Then you have injected scripts.
They can bury a backdoor deep in your system, or even worse, they can set up a cron job, a scheduled task.
Like a timer that runs a script every night at midnight.
Attackers love these. They set a task to re-download the virus every night. Your file restore happens, but that night, the system config runs the job and boom, you're infected again.
It really drives home that core insight. Backups don't ask who accessed your system. Security does.
That's the aha moment right there. Backups are dumb tools. They're passive. They just copy bits. You can't rely on a photocopier to be your security guard.
That's a great analogy. So if backups aren't the answer, the root cause has to be something deeper.
It is. It's all about access control. Recovery is only as secure as the permissions that govern it.
So the question isn't, do we have backups?
It's who can delete them.
Right, and who can restore them, who can change the schedules, who can even see them.
If the answer to who can delete them is anyone with the admin password, you have a huge problem. This is why you separate duties. The person running the server shouldn't have full destructive rights over the backups.
This all points to a big psychological shift from that recovery mindset to a prevention mindset.
A recovery mindset just assumes failure. It's reactive. It's always looking backward. The main question is, when this breaks, how do I fix it?
And the prevention mindset.
That's about reducing the need to recover in the first place, limiting access, detecting threats early. It's about trying to fail quietly.
Fail quietly. I like that term. It sounds peaceful.
It is. The goal is that when an attack happens, it's a non-event. The permissions are so tight, the attacker can't go anywhere. They get in, look around, realize they can't do anything, and they just leave.
The source has another great line here. Security is boring when it's working.
That is the absolute truth. Mature security isn't exciting. It's not some movie with flashing red screens. Mature security looks like nothing. It's a report that says 0 incidents.
So what does that boring, mature security actually look like?
It's consistent discipline. First, limited admin access. The principle of least privilege.
Right, don't give everyone admin rights just because it's easier. We've all been guilty of that.
We have, and it's a fatal mistake. Second, MFA, everywhere. Multi-factor authentication, not optional anymore.
It stops almost all automated attacks.
It does. Then, you need a known attack surface. Basically, you can't protect what you don't know you have. Know every plugin, every API key.
And finally, tested recovery paths. Which brings us right back to theory versus plan.
It's all about doing the unglamorous work.
Okay, let's get practical. The source has a change this week checklist. What can someone do tomorrow?
Step 1, audit access. Go look at your backup system right now. Who has permission? If you see old accounts, ex-employees, generic users, remove them.
Step 2, separate storage.
Isolate your backups. If your website is on server A, the backups go to server B, or a different cloud provider with different logins. You have to air-gap them.
Don't keep the spare key in the car.
Exactly. Step 3, test 1, restore.
Just one.
Just one. Pick a non-critical file and try to bring it back. See if it works, see how long it takes. You want to find out now, not at 3 a.m. during a crisis.
That's such a good point. And finally, step 4.
Treat it as a last resort. Build your security as if backups didn't exist. If you knew deletion was permanent, how much harder would you work to secure the front door?
That's a powerful way to frame it. It really raises the stakes.
It's the only way to be truly secure.
As we wrap up, there's this idea in the source about drift. What is that?
Security isn't a setup, it's a process. You don't just install it and walk away. Over time, attention fades. Things drift.
Assumptions harden into policy. That's the line that stuck with me.
That is the drift. Permissions accumulate. You grant temporary access and forget to revoke it. You add a plugin to test something and just leave it there. Deactivate
Food
it.
for the garden, isn't it?
Exactly. If you stop weeding, the weeds take over. It doesn't happen suddenly. It degrades one unpatched vulnerability at a time.
We've covered a lot in this series: exposure, identity, plugins. But this one feels like the capstone. It's the realization that if you're just relying on the safety net, you're missing the whole point.
This isn't about fear. It's about realism. Understanding how systems actually fail.
So here's the final thought I want to leave you with. If your entire strategy relies on the assumption that I can always just go back, you are effectively living in the past.
You're not preparing for future threats. You're just hoping you can retreat to a safe yesterday.
And in a world where threats evolve every minute, yesterday is no longer safe enough.
Well said.
Don't plan to recover. Plan to survive so you don't have to. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go check those permissions, try Restore seriously, try it, and stay curious. We'll see you next time.